to talk about, the one thing I do want to share with you today, is a topic that has been kind of brewing and kind of messing with me for a while now, especially this post-pandemic world that we live in and how things are a little bit different. I really would like to talk about this topic, and it's something I'm going to share it with you in an objective manner. I don't want you to roll your eyes and say, oh, he's a pastor, of course he's going to say that, what do you expect, he wants us to go to his church. I truly am not going to I'm not going to approach this or discuss this in subjective manner. I mean, completely objective, completely honest and independent. I will talk to you like I would talk to anyone, or how I would want someone to talk to me in a similar situation. So I want to just tackle a question, or work on or decipher the question of, do I need to belong to a church? Do I need to belong to a church? And the reason why this is such a hot button topic, or something that has been really in my spirit, is because if you notice, our post-pandemic world has completely shifted. A lot of things have gone virtual, mobile. You see jobs currently have, many jobs have a work from home option. Many programs are presented virtually. Like I was watching ESPN the other day, and you see folks who are on First Take or other sports shows, and they're in their cribs in front of on Zoom, and they're out there, being interviewed. So I think, this shift of virtual, of a mobile approach is here to stay, because the pandemic, though COVID is not gone, the pandemic has gone away, but yet these things still exist. I've told myself that I can't see myself at, I do still have a 9 to 5. I do still work. I don't see myself being able to go back full time into the office. I'm so used to, working from home and being home with my kids and seeing my kids grow up and being able to be there when they come from school and help with their homework. I don't see myself being able to go back to a 9 to 5 where I work 5 days out the office. I don't see it. I mean, Lord may have a different plan for me. I may get an opportunity as I search, as I look. However, my intention is not to be able to work full time from the office. So, I think it's crazy that we often think the church will be exempt from these changes. So the same way the world and, the workplace and other different places are affected by this mobile and virtual environment, the church has been affected as well, and maybe even a greater effect than these other locations. So due to the pandemic, as many of you know, most churches, or many churches, were forced to go virtual. So for a year, 18 months, 2 years, churches did not meet together because of COVID restrictions. So they had prayer lines. I know churches that met over the telephone. They all got together to worship and pray together over the telephone. I know churches that like mine that had live streams on YouTube every single Sunday. I recall that, while, it was a small group of us that were there doing praise and worship, and the same bunch just rolling back and forth, presenting something in front of a cell phone or an iPad or a camera. And we sat there and we continued to present, and we've kept that virtual component as well. So we're grateful for that, I know people say, Pastor Ron, you should, now that you're back live, you should stop the virtual, but I think it's a blessing. I was one of the few voices that's saying this could be a setup by God. COVID could actually be a setup by God to allow the church to leave out the four walls. For example, like I've said, this has been a blessing for us because there's people that attend our church faithfully that don't live in Pennsylvania, don't live in the area, that they are there every Sunday. They tithe. They're following the sermons. They reach out to me, say, Pastor Ron, can you pray for me? What are your thoughts about this, etc., etc. And when they're in town, they stop in. They come into the sanctuary. They really view RCOG as their home church. They give their time. There's a level of accountability. So there are people who go to church virtually because of the church they feel like they're called to is not a local church. I'm not completely against that. Because, you can't help where you're called to. You can't help who you're called to. So I think a lot of times people can do that. If you say, listen, this is my church. This is the church that I go to. The tricky part is sometimes where you don't have, where your church doesn't know you, where you simply go by yourself to a church where no one else knows you go to that church. That's a tricky part. We'll probably talk about it more later on, but I think it's definitely doable, and churches have structures in place now also to reach out to this campus, this family. But even us, like when we go through our numbers, I've seen that we've had people in all over the world tune in to RCOG's live stream. We see people. I had a friend of mine who had a church in Connecticut. He's like, yo, Pastor Ron, like, this has been a blessing. I have a consistent percentage of people that in Iraq that watch my live stream every time I get on. That's the gospel. The gospel is for us to go out the world. And maybe God created this for us to be able to reach the world. Because let's be honest, church folks, all we have been doing is reaching out to our local communities and to our friends and our old church family. But God is saying, no, my mission is for you is greater. I need you to be able to access the world. And this live stream component is allowing us to do that. So I don't believe, just to bring it full circle, hey, if I stop my live stream, folks will automatically start going to the sanctuary. It doesn't work that way. If I stop my live stream, folks will find another live stream to go to. It's that simple. So it's not the live stream which is the issue, but it's actually, to me, has been a blessing. So I'm glad to see the church pivot. The church is always the last group to pivot, the last place to always pivot when it comes to changes within the world. And I think it's crucial that the church pivots and we develop the live streams and different methods to reach out to people in a virtual manner. And what has happened as a result is that some folks just stop going to church. They stop going to church. They stop attending churches on a regular basis. They catch a sermon or a song when they can on YouTube or IG, but they stop. They no longer have a desire to belong to a church. And those that do this may feel that they're thriving, that what they're doing is okay. As long as I have my devotional time, as long as me and my wife read the Bible together, we're good. That is an essential component in your walk. Reading with your family, devotional time, quiet time with God is an essential component to your walk. So I'm not downplaying that. However, I think the one thing that is crucial, even for those who attend church virtually, like I said, if you feel like, RCOG or Salem Baptist, whatever church you may go to virtually, I think an essential component, and the only way this can work, is that your pastor needs to know that you attend this church. I can't say I attend Transformation if Michael Todd or any of his pastors don't know who I am. I can't say I go to Elevation. I'm a member of Elevation Church because I love how Stephen Furtick preaches. However, no one in the church knows I belong to that church. I believe they have a EFAM, like some kind of electronic campus as well, which helps that. But then you have to have some layer of commitment. So To answer the question, do you need to belong to a church? I say yes, you need to belong to a church. You need to find a church home, whether it's electronic, whether it's local, or a mixture of both, where, listen, I have this church that's in my city, but I'll go to work every other Sunday. So I can't be there every other Sunday. So when I'm available and not working, I'm there on site. If not, then I'm sitting there and I'm taking the sermons online. We have virtual Bible studies. We have virtual teaching. We go to our YouTube pages. Services are online. So these things that we do on a consistent basis. But there has to be a layer of accountability, and a layer of they should know that you go there. Like, it's not like, hey, I go to Transformation just because every Sunday morning every week I watch their services, so that means I go to Transformation. No, it does not mean you go to Transformation. But I give. It does not mean you go to Transformation Church. So let me just back it up a little bit. Like, the reason I believe folks join churches is not for a word. It's not because of dope worship, because we can get that at any time. I could, again, log on to YouTube, go into someone's Facebook page, IG all the time. You can get a good word to get you through the week. You can basically go and get a good worship. However, the main reason, whether you know it or not, you join a church is for a level of community. The same reason why folks join the Bloods and the Crips is the same reason why folks join churches. It's because they want to belong to something. So in this electronic and virtual environment, if you're simply just watching sermons from here to there, hopping here to there, you lose that sense of community. You lose that sense, hey, we're family. Hey, where were you on church on Sunday? Hey, I missed you. Oh, you look good. Hey, I'm praying for you. Oh, can you pray for me? That level of community, that level of I belong to something, this is the reason why people join churches. And that may be a bit difficult virtually. Again, let's go back to what I said earlier. It's possible. It's possible for you to participate, to belong to an e-campus of a church where you're in a completely different country or state, but this is your church. But however, you take part in their Bible studies, you take part in their e-groups, you take part in they know that you belong to the church. So you have a level of community. If you're in a smaller church like mine, the pastor knows who you are. The pastor pray for you. Say, hey, pastor, listen, I need something. I need help. I need to talk to you. You have the access to the pastor or other members of that community in order for help. So the reason why you do this is for a sake of community. So we cannot downplay the main reason why folks belong to church. And this is why the Bible says in the book of Hebrews, do not forsake the assembly of saints. Because what God is saying in the book of Hebrews is that, listen, you need a sense of, you need to get together as Christians, as believers. Look at God. God, I don't know if you realize, God sent Jesus disciples. God was the one that said, hey, Christ, listen, I know you have thousands of angels at your disposal. I know you have, you're half God and half man at the same time. I know you can turn water into wine. But in order for you to get through the 33 years you have on this earth, you need a community of people with you to help you get through this. You need to help them when you're weak. You need to pour into them. You need them to pour into you. You have to get the level of community, because God is a God of relationship and God is a God of community. And sometimes what happens to us, we downplay the relationship and community, and we feel all we need is a relationship with God in order for things to work out. It should be the priority to us, but you cannot get into heaven by yourself. You cannot do it, because there are going to be times you're weak. There are going to be times you don't feel like praying. There'll be a time when you don't feel like giving. There'll be a time you don't feel like logging on, but you're going to need that level of community to push you into encourage you for you to get to where God has called you to go. So I want you to understand the value of being part of a community, the value of being able to say, like, listen, you know what? I am going to join this church, and they know I'm going to join this church. And the second reason why it is important for us to understand, the second biggest component, of being of joining a church, and why you need to go to join a church, is for a level of accountability. And I think the reason why many of us don't want to join churches is not because we don't have time or because of the pandemic. We don't like the accountability. We don't like folks to tell us about ourselves. We don't like people to say, listen, where have you been? Why are you wearing what you're wearing? Why are you posting what you're posting? Why haven't you been in church in 6 weeks? We don't like that level of accountability. And one of the things that we do not like in our generation is accountability. We don't like to be told that we're doing wrong. And whenever someone tells us that, point out something wrong that we're doing, we tend to call them a hater, or that they need to mind their business. But as a matter of fact, someone that tells you about yourself actually cares about you. Someone that encourages you and pushes you to do better is someone that really loves you. You know what I'm saying? So don't sit there and say, I don't want folks to tell me about myself. We got to have a level of accountability. You need accountability. So, and it's difficult for you to have that accountability if you don't go to church. Because one of the things your pastor, your fellow church members, your leaders, one of the things that they offer to you is a level of accountability. It is so easy to say, I serve God in secret, and then have no accountability. So when I feel like doing, I could do it. When I don't feel like reading, I ain't got to read. When I feel like logging on, I can log on. When I don't want to log on, I don't log on. There's no layer of accountability. And where there's no accountability, there's no growth. So we need to learn the value of being accountable. We need to learn the value of being at a place where you grow, where your pastor's going to say, you're preaching today. But you're like, nah, you know what? It's easy trust me, it is easy to just do your devotionals and sit there and read your word, pray, and then go back to sleep. Do everything on your own. No one knows. Oh, it's me and my family doing our own family Bible study. That's all cool. Not saying these things are not valuable nor important. I'm not saying, please, these disciplines, these are necessary components of any faith and any growth. However, accountability is it as well. Your wife can't be the only one holding you accountable. You can't hold yourself accountable. You need that layer of accountability. So why do I need to belong to a church? Why do I need to know to have my pastor and fellow members know I belong to a church? It's because I need that layer of accountability. Because without that accountability, you're not going to grow. You can have the best devotional time, the best time with God, but a lack of accountability is not going to have you to grow. So I don't want to just downplay the personal time, the private time. Those are crucial. You must have a mixture of both. But I also don't want to downplay the fact that you need to belong to a church. You need to find a church. It may take a while for you to commit to a church. That's okay. It may take you a while to sit there and find a place to go. That's okay, but you need to find a local church. Maybe the church you've been to for the last 15 years is not where you need to be anymore. That's okay. But I'd rather you sit there and look and go church to church so you find the right church than to sit there and lull yourself to sleep and you have a lack of accountability. If I don't join the church, how can I use my gifts? Who am I preaching to? Who am I prophesying to? Who? Christ established a church for a reason. And you know what? Us as church members, us as the body of Christ, we also got to admit we got to do better. I think part of the reason why people have left the church is not simply because of the pandemic or virtual services. It's because the church has been ratchet. And you have pastors taking money. You have people sleeping with other church members. You have a lack of love and compassion, that as we gossip about other church people and we do all this and all that. Some people, their issue is not the church, it's the church people. So it's much easier for me to just have church at home than to deal with the church people. And I get that. And you're 100% right. But those church folks didn't die on the cross for you. So I will not allow any church folk to cause me not to do what God has called me to do. So end of the day, yes, we got to do better as a church. I'm a pastor, and I will say the church has to do better. We have to love people. We have to have patience. We have to stop all the gossiping and posturing for a title and position while folks in your pews are dying, depressed, killing themselves. But yet we also have to understand as a body of Christ, as people that love God, that we need to find a church that we belong to. If that church is full of gossipers and you feel like your time is up, leave. That church is dead, leave. But you must find a church home, because you need that community. Because there's going to be times you don't feel like doing your devotional. There'll be times you don't feel like getting out your bed. But that community will support you. There's going to be times where you don't feel like coming to church. That community holds you accountable. Like, what's good with you, man? Like, what's wrong with you? That's the purpose of church, is that community and that accountability. So I want to make sure that we understand that. Find a church. Don't, and I know being away makes it hard for you to come back. Because I didn't take no break. I was in church every Sunday. I didn't take that break. So I get it and I understand it. But come back home. Like I say, come back to the crib. But find the right church home. I guarantee when you find the right place, it's going to be easy. When you feel like you're accepted, you feel like you're loved on, when you feel like they're praying for you, they're pushing you. Because part of it's also be pushing. Like, one thing I tell people that join my church, I'm going to push you. And it don't always feel good. But you know what? Never question my heart. The reason why I'm going to push you is because I know there's more inside of you that I want to get out. So, and folks don't like that. So at the end of the day, I think it's crucial that we understand the value of joining a church and having a church home. Trust me, your spiritual life needs it. Your growth depends on it, is that community. There's a reason why God said, I'll say it one more time, do not forsake or neglect the assembly of saints. Book of Hebrews. There's a reason why he says that. Because he understands that A, there'll come a time where we're going to neglect it. And B, he wants to re-emphasize the necessity of a church home. So that's my thoughts. Tell me what you think. Thank you. Leave comments, leave messages, emails, whatever. Reach out to me. Tell me what you think. I could be seeing it completely wrong. I mean, I agree. You may think wrong. You're talking out of both sides of your mouth. I think you're wrong, but definitely share what your thoughts are. Let's have a discussion. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching or listening Realness with Pastor Ron. I pray that this blesses you. Don't forget to share this with a friend. Post this on your social media. Let's get this message out, and let's talk. I love you guys. God bless y'all. Have a good one.